Let me invite the last panelist to join us at the desk, and Mr. Stiver, you're welcome to stay at the desk as well. Our last panelist is Jerry Glasser Hedrick, who is the Executive Director of California Debt Limit Allocation Committee, CDLAC. Anytime you're ready, you may proceed.
Good morning. Jerry Glasser Hedrick. It's nice to be here this morning. I'm here today to provide you an overview for the California Debt Limit Allocation Committee. In order to start, I'm going to provide a brief overview of bonds because that is the resource which CDLAC is allocating. I'll talk about the CDLAC structure and then get into its programs and implementation. So in general, what is a bond? A bond is a form of debt. Generally, when an investor purchases a bond, they're providing a loan to the issuer. In exchange, the issuer is providing a cash stream over time and a promise that the bond will be paid upon the term. Government agencies sell bonds, as do corporations. Generally, government entity bonds are tax exempt and corporation bonds are taxable. What is a municipal bond? Bonds that are issued by government entities are called municipal bonds. They're generally issued to finance projects that benefit the public and are generally tax exempt. Their tax-exempt nature is combined with the fact that the issuer has the responsibility of repaying the bond, and this assures investors that their repayment will be on time and in full. This induces investors to accept a rate that's less than at market rate levels. So what is a private activity bond? A private activity bond differs from a municipal bond with the respect that private activity bond is issued for private businesses. It's used to finance projects that include multifamily affordable housing, certain tax-exempt facilities, and like municipal bonds, they have a tax-exempt attribute, but the repayment stream from the bond is not a responsibility of the issuer, but rather of the project or the business that receives the bond. This creates a situation where it's a good vehicle for communities to finance projects. So what is CDLAC? CDLAC stands for the California California Debt Limit Allocation Committee, and they are a three-member panel comprised of the treasurer, the controller, and the governor. And they were established by proclamation as a result of the Tax Reform Act of 1986 and are responsible for allocating the private activity in the state, which was limited in 1986. CDLAC was established as the state entity that would handle that. The committee also has 3 non-voting members, which include the 2 ladies from Cal HFA and HCD that sit beside me. And it is unfilled currently, but there is also the potential for a local representative appointed by the treasurer. Statutorily, CDLAC was included in the government code in 1987. Formulaically, what they do is they tabulate the bond cap coming from the federal government, which is a function of currently $100 per capita. And so currently the bond cap California receives is $3.8 billion. I'm way behind on my slides. I'm sorry about that. CDLAC's programs. CDLAC is a fee-based organization. They don't rely on federal or state funding. And agencies issuing private activity bonds are required to come to CDLAC for an allocation. The bonds that are issued as a result of an allocation are purchased by municipal bond issuers or are privately placed. And currently, CDLAC has established regulations which outline the type of programs that can be that can use the private activity. I'm going to walk through those very quickly and then try to conclude as quickly as possible. The first program, which Mark alluded to in his presentation, is the Qualified Residential Rental Program, and this facilitates developers to purchase land, provides financing for new construction and the acquisition and renovation of existing projects. In exchange for bond proceeds, developers produce projects that are either mixed income or affordable in general and hold units available for low and very low income individuals. As Mark mentioned, this is the program that can be paired with the 4% tax credit program and is definitely the most voluminous use of bond cap in California. This program is divided into 3 pools. It includes a general pool, which are projects that are more than 50% affordable, a mixed income pool, which are projects that are less than 50% affordable, and then a rural pool, which is for projects that are located in rural areas. The next set of programs relates to single-family programming and mortgage revenue bonds can be issued. Sure. Thank you. Mortgage revenue bonds can be issued to assist first-time home buyers. State and local government agencies can also issue mortgage credit certificates, which essentially is a tax rebate to home purchasers and allows them to support a larger mortgage than they would otherwise be able to. In terms of requirements, the program can be utilized on single-family detached homes, condominiums, or townhomes, and there are income limits as well as purchase limits that apply. The Extra Credit Teacher Program is a program that has historically been administered by HCD. It's a subset of the single-family program and was specifically designed for participants that are employed in high-priority schools. CalHFA has ceased administration of this program but is serving teachers through its typical mortgage credit certificate program. The next program is a home improvement and rehabilitation program, and this allows the issuance of bonds or mortgage credit certificates for first-time home buyers who are either purchasing a home that needs to be renovated or need to do renovations to an existing home. The same income limits and purchase limits apply to this program as do to the new home purchase programs. The next program is the Small Issue Industrial Development Bond Program, and it facilitates the issuance of bonds for small manufacturing facilities to finance capital expenditures. This program supports the expansion of existing manufacturing facilities and can have the potential to create jobs in different municipalities. The next program is the Exempt Facility Program. This facilitates the issuance of bonds to finance a variety of community-serving facilities, including solid waste disposal and wastewater recycling facilities. This allows project owners to maintain low customer rates and try to put a cap on rate increases. It also has the potential to spur economic activity in the jurisdictions in which the projects are located. The next program is the Beginning Farm Worker Program. This is a new program this year, and so SIDLAC has been very excited about this. It is a program whereby bond proceeds can be used to help finance first-time farmers. The proceeds can be used to purchase agricultural land, make improvements, and also purchase breeder livestock. As I said, this is a new program this year. It received a $50,000 reservation, and we will see as this year progresses the demand for this program. The final program is the Student Loan Program, and this, like the teacher program, is currently inactive. It allows the bonds to be issued to either finance direct loans to students and their parents or to purchase loans that were originated and in the secondary market. There are a handful of issuers for this program, but as I indicated, it's inactive. At the federal level in 2010, there was the HIRE Act was approved, which deauthorized the federal government student loan insurance program, which was used as a key credit enhancement factor for the state program. And we don't anticipate, unless there are changes at the federal level, this program becoming active again. In terms of looking at the activity for CIDLAC, you can definitely, this is a slide of number of projects from 2008 to 2014. You can definitely see that the qualified residential rental program is the biggest user of the program. The single-family housing program has declined over time, and the other programs have bounced around a bit. I would like to call the committee's attention to the fact that the multifamily program benefits greatly from the infusion of 4% tax credit equity, while the other non-multifamily programs don't. And given the very narrow spreads between tax-exempt and taxable rates right now, the non-multifamily programs are not as attractive as they have historically been, just given macroeconomic circumstances. The next slide discusses or demonstrates the multifamily activity that the program has seen over time, and you can see that it is a powerhouse for production of units in the state. You know, we were hovering around the low teens prior to the downturn, and as you can see, the downturn definitely had its impact on production, with the spike in 2011 likely being a result of the dissolution of redevelopment and the hurriedness with which jurisdictions got projects, enforceable commitments for projects. You know, we've seen a recovery of unit production over the years, but we're still at about 80% of pre-recession levels. So in terms of what are the goals and objectives for 2015, I'm sure that you are all aware that Treasurer Chung has identified housing as one of his priorities. Mark and I have been out listening to the various stakeholders that utilize our programs to try to identify changes that could be made to help spur production. CIDLAC has a significant amount of bonding authority, which we have at our discretion to utilize. We're looking at new ways to layer 4% credits and the state tax credits. I think Mark's comments are very true, that absent additional funding sources, this deals, 4% bond deals are very, very difficult to structure. We're very anxious and excited about the veterans money and also the sustainable community money, and to see what sort of impact that will have on our programs. We know it's going to have some impact. We're just not sure of the quality or quantity of impact it will have. In addition to that, CIDLAC is working on trying to develop an online compliance system. We did roll out an online application system last year, which has been very well received from the development community and has been a great time saver from a staff perspective, and so we're hoping to replicate that on the compliance side. I'm available to answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you very much, Ms. Glasser-Hedrick, as well as to the rest of the panel. Are there any questions? Senator Bell.
Could you, maybe the panel, question related to the action going on in the federal level on the low-income tax credit and President's proposal, members of Congress, any proposals that affect this, and the private activity bond cap and how that could convert it to tax credits as an opportunity to make those numbers go up in terms of housing?
Yeah, we are aware of the proposal, and Mark and I have both reviewed it. I think from our perspective, we welcome the changes. Being able to have the ability to convert existing bond cap and be able to use it on the 9% side, we see as an invaluable tool given the economic circumstances that we face. There's a number of other arms and fingers to that proposal. as well as the conversion. But in general, we're very supportive. From my perspective, I'm cautious regarding the long-term implications, given the fact that volume cap is utilized not only by the multifamily program, but by other non-housing programs as well. I think the way in which the proposal has been authored, it is very advantageous, or it's very financially advantageous to convert the bond cap, something I think that would be very difficult to not exercise if economic circumstances change, and so I personally think that a temporary proposal rather than a fixed proposal would be a better option. But given that we have asked for more specificity on kind of how the ability to convert would relate to interest rates.
Now, is the federal government doing more for veterans housing or any special needs housing areas? Is that on the table in Washington, D.C.?
Well, we did see an additional allocation to our local housing authorities of VASH vouchers, which specifically relates to the veterans homeless housing issue. And as the
Senator
member stated, that is additional resources coming to the state of California.
How much is that going to be? That do you think?
I'd have to get back to the committee.
Okay,
it's significant, but a dollar value over each of those vouchers. We can get back the number of vouchers. We can get that back to the committee members.
Voucher program for the veterans.
And of course, the legislature and governor and voters approved the $600 million bond for veterans, and we expect those projects to come through our programs as well. So either on the 9% tax credits or the bonds and 4% tax credits, all those things will be leveraged. So we expect actually some business starting about July 1st from those programs.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm aware of that one. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. And if there are no further questions, I'd like to invite the members of the public to come on up to make their comments if we have any. We do have one member who would like to speak. Come on up. And you're welcome to stay there and, or leave if whatever your desire is.
Chairman Chow, Chairman Bell, members of the committee. I'm Silvio Ferrari with the California Building Industry Association. First off, thank you guys very much for having this hearing. All the panelists provide a lot of helpful insight as to the state of housing in California right now. Our members continue to provide about 75% of all the housing in the state of California. And as we're now looking at 14 and our members are figuring out what the actual final outlook, we are going to see that 2014 was actually below where we were in 2013. So the industry is still struggling. It's fragile and it's really uncertain at best. So we think as the discussions move forward, there really needs to be two parts of the discussion. The first that we've heard a lot about today, which is how to target solutions and provide tools for those most disadvantaged communities, low-income families that need places to live. And we absolutely believe that a solution needs to be on the table that is, again, a permanent source of affordable housing that we've supported for the last couple years. But additionally, if you go back to Director Claudia Capio's permit slide from earlier, the industry is nowhere near where it needs to be. Department of Housing and Community Development has said for years that we need to produce between 200 and 220,000 units annually to keep pace with population, in-migration, and other things. And at 83,000, 84,000 units a year, we need to look globally at the housing problem. So hopefully as we move forward, please feel free to use CBIA as a tool, as a resource, and we're here at your disposal. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good afternoon, members. Brian Augusta on behalf of Western Center on Law and Poverty, and thank you to the panel for a very informative presentation. The beginning of what I'm sure will be a long conversation this legislative session about the housing needs of low-income Californians whom we represent and have represented here in the legislature for some 40 years now. Today's conversation really was about funding, and I want to echo what our friends from CBIA said about the need to replace funding that we have lost in California, which now by one estimate, is close to 80% of the funding that was at one time available. And Mr. Stivers talked a bit about how that's impacting the state tax credit program as one example, the loss of potential gap funding from, for example, redevelopment funds that have been available when redevelopment agencies existed. So we want to echo the need for replacing those sources, whether it's expanding the state tax credit, having a permanent source of funding, looking to federal dollars and making sure that we're getting every dollar that we can here in California, including an issue that we're going to be working on this year, which is ensuring that we remove all barriers to the use of Section 8 housing vouchers, which bring about $3 billion in federal funding to both housing providers and to low-income families to help them meet their housing needs in California. We want to make sure that there are no barriers to using those, not just in California cities, but in the right places where people can take advantage of those opportunities. So we'll be back at the subsequent hearing to talk about additional solutions that we hope will be part of a broad-based source of broad-based set of policies in California to meet the housing needs of low-income people. But I want to thank you, both chairmen, for putting together this hearing today, and look forward to the continuing conversation.
Thank you very much. Anyone else who would like to speak? Seeing none, let me conclude by thanking the panelists again. You've been very informative, so I want to thank you. We'll look forward to working with you, as well as my colleagues from both houses, my co-chair, Senator Bell. Thank you for all your work and your leadership as well. So with that, our meeting is adjourned.